I've been calling for congressional hearings over the prosecution of former Border Patrol agents Ignacio Ramos and Jose Campion for almost a year. Today, those hearings began in the U.S. Senate. The two men were convicted last March of shooting and wounding an illegal alien drug smuggler, which they pursued in a high-speed chase. The drug smuggler was given immunity from prosecution to testify against those two agents. Ramos and Campion are now serving 11 and 12-year sentences in federal prison. It was the Senate Judiciary Committee today that heard testimony, statements from their witnesses. A House committee, by the way, will be holding hearings on Ramos and Campion later this month. Of the 19 senators on the judiciary, 5 were in attendance, and as Casey Wyan reports, they had some tough questions for the U.S. attorney who led the prosecution of those two former Border Patrol agents.
That will be included in the record.
It was standing room only for a Senate hearing into the Bush administration's prosecution of 2 Border Patrol agents for shooting and wounding a Mexican drug smuggler. Ignacio Ramos and Jose Campion have already served 6 months of 11 and 12-year terms for the 2005 Texas border shooting.
I have not heard many people argue that agents Ramos and Campion deserve the length of these sentences.
The agents admit not properly reporting the shooting, but insist illegal alien drug smuggler Osvaldo Aldrete Davila was pointing a gun at them.
The public sees 2 Border Patrol agents serving long prison sentences while an admitted drug dealer goes free.
Senators demanded to know why prosecutors working for U.S. Attorney Johnny Sutton gave a drug cartel member immunity to testify against the agents.
They are not heroes. They deliberately shot an unarmed man in the back without justification, destroyed evidence to cover it up, and lied about it.
Congressional supporters of the agents dispute that.
2 of America's brave Border Patrol defenders have had their lives destroyed by what I see as an elitist, arrogant, and overreaching prosecutor who believes that protecting the civil rights of illegal alien criminals is worth destroying the lives of law enforcement officers for minor procedural violations.
Sutton says his prosecutors didn't have enough evidence to charge Davila, even though he admitted to smuggling 743 pounds of marijuana the day he was shot.
Why Mr. Sutton says that he can't be prosecuted bewilders me, because I believe any first-year prosecutor could get an indictment and successfully prosecute him.
Current and former Border Patrol officials defended the prosecution of the 2 agents.
From the standpoint of policy, I can't think of anything that needs to be changed. And I don't disagree that the penalty is disproportionate.
Disproportional because Sutton's prosecutors charged the agents with a federal firearm offense that carries a 10-year mandatory minimum sentence. Sutton did admit one mistake. The decision to give Davila an unrestricted border crossing card, the DEA says allowed him to smuggle even more drugs into the United States.
Guy was a drug dealer.
Yes, sir.
And does it concern you that, does that decision concern you? Do you agree with that decision?
I think looking back on that with 20/20 hindsight, that probably wasn't a very wise move.
Border Patrol Chief David Aguilar may have provided more evidence for the agent's supporters. He told senators there have been nearly 2,000 assaults against Border Patrol agents since February 2005, and 144 agents discharged their weapons. But prosecutors in the Ramos Campion case prevented jurors from hearing testimony about violence on the Mexican border. Senator Feinstein says she will look into changing the federal law that requires a 10-year sentence for a gun crime to exempt law enforcement officers in the line of duty. The House plans another hearing in 2 weeks. It's expected to focus on, among other things, the possible influence of the Mexican government on the agent's prosecution. Lou?
And today, discussion of cell phone calls and the likelihood that the drug smuggler, Aldrete Davila, had 2 cell phones in his possession and used them, and that might have been what the agents perceived to be a gun.
Absolutely. There was a cell phone in the van that Davila was driving. He also said he had another cell phone in his possession. That second cell phone was never found. A lot of folks believe that may have been the shiny object that the agents saw pointing at them.
And as Aldrete Davila fled across the Rio Grande to the Mexican side, 2 vehicles were waiting for him, with testimony within 5 minutes of his fleeing the pursuing Border Patrol agents.
And he never told investigators who was in those two vehicles, despite the fact that he had an immunity agreement to fully cooperate. Lou.
Well, that'll be one of the issues that I take up with the U.S. Attorney who led this prosecution, Johnny Sutton, and others, coming up here in just a matter of moments. Casey, thank you very much. Casey Wine, who's been reporting on this for just the better part of a year now, this case, this controversy, and what most see as a miscarriage of justice. Thank you very much. We'd like to know what you think about this case. Our poll question tonight centers directly on it. The question is, do you believe Congress is serious about correcting the outrageous miscarriage of justice against former Border Patrol agents Ramos and Campion? Yes or no? Cast your vote at LouDobbs.com. We'll have the results here later in the broadcast. Time now for some of your thoughts. Gary in California wrote in to say, Dear Lou, the U.S. will not negotiate with terrorists, but will cut deals with Mexican drug smugglers to testify, honestly, of course, against our American Border Patrol agents, Ramos and Campion. This could only be masterminded by the Bush administration. Brilliant. Tom in South Dakota. Lou, finally, a congressional investigation into the two Border Patrol agents, Ignacio Ramos and Jose Campion. Every American should demand these agents be released. Call your elected representatives. We'll have more of your emails and thoughts here later in the broadcast. Up next, illegal alien open borders groups rallying on the steps of the U.S. Supreme Court, and they decided to target me today, saying there's no redemption. We'll tell you what that means. We'll have the story. And we'll have more in today's Senate hearing into the case of former Border Patrol agents Ramos and Campion. We'll hear from the prosecutor at the center of the controversy and two of the senators who today held a hearing. Stay with us. We're coming right back.